An ancient couple sits quietly inside their tent, their faces lined with age and longing. Decades have passed since their youth, and their hope has all but faded beneath the weight of barrenness. Suddenly, a visitor appears, an angel or divine messenger, announcing, "Your wife Sarah will bear a son." The declaration sounds impossible. Sarah is long beyond childbearing years. Yet, this is not merely an old story. 'Tis a miracle narrative woven into the very fabric of Israel's origins. Tonight, we'll uncover the ancient world behind Isaac's birth and ask, what does it mean when history and hope collide in the promise of a child? This moment of divine announcement breaks through despair, symbolizing how hope can be rekindled even in the bleakest circumstances. It also echoes a timeless human longing for legacy, identity, and continuity that transcends time and culture, highlighting why this story remains so compelling for millions around the world. To ensure full transparency, please note that this video uses AI-generated visuals to bring history to life. Faith and facts, where ancient mysteries meet modern exploration. Our thesis: Isaac's birth, as recorded in Genesis 21, stands as a pivotal moment in biblical history, a direct fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham and Sarah, despite all natural barriers. While skeptics often dismiss this narrative as legend or theological fiction, a closer examination through the lens of ancient Near Eastern culture reveals surprising historical depth. Fertility customs, attitudes toward barrenness, and miraculous birth motifs were well established in the region. And names such as Isaac Yitzchak, meaning he laughs, carry cultural significance closely tied to the emotional core of the story. This story's enduring power is not merely theological, but also literary and cultural. The naming of Isaac captures a universal human response to the unexpected, laughter born of astonishment and joy. This duality gives the narrative a psychological realism that would be difficult to fabricate, lending further weight to the argument that it preserves genuine ancient memory rather than later myth-making. The skeptics claim. Skeptics argue that Isaac's birth is a later theological construct designed to provide Israel with a miraculous origin story. They suggest it parallels widespread ancient myth motifs, in which childless couples suddenly bear children to legitimize dynasties or peoples. However, this explanation overlooks the rich historical and cultural specificity embedded in Genesis. The biblical narrative is deeply rooted in fertility customs that archaeologists have traced across Mesopotamia and Canaan, including rituals, prayers, and social attitudes toward barrenness and divine intervention. Excavations at sites such as Mari and Nuzi have uncovered artifacts, fertility figurines, amulets, and inscriptions used to petition gods for children. Additionally, naming conventions similar to Isaac's, involving names expressing joy, laughter, or surprise at birth, are well attested in the 2nd millennium BC. This remarkable specificity challenges the notion that Isaac's birth narrative is simply a generic myth. Moreover, the socio-political context of these ancient cultures underscores how essential fertility was to survival and legitimacy. The emphasis on fertility rituals and divine blessings reflects deeply held beliefs about divine favor as a source of stability and prosperity, context that aligns precisely with the Genesis account's theological message. The story of Abraham and Sarah also reflects a vital cultural reality. Childbearing was essential for lineage, inheritance, and the continuation of the covenant. Barren women faced significant social stigma, a reality Genesis captures with empathetic nuance. Sarah's laughter is not mockery, but a complex emotional response blending hope and disbelief, a subtlety often lost in modern readings. Ancient Near Eastern literature, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh and Enuma Elish, include stories of miraculous births. However, these typically emphasize gods or heroes rather than the deeply human dimension found in Genesis. Sarah's story grounds the miraculous in human vulnerability and lived experience. Furthermore, the covenant promises explicitly link Isaac's birth to divine faithfulness. Without Isaac, the land and blessing promised by the covenant remain unfulfilled. Thus, the story operates simultaneously on theological, cultural, and historical levels. Finally, the narrative's emphasis on Sarah's advanced age corresponds with known lifespan data from ancient texts, which, though idealized, preserve cultural memories of longevity and divine intervention. In addition, the narrative's layered emotional texture captures a profound tension between doubt and faith, which resonates with the human experience across time. This tension enriches the story's authenticity and invites readers to engage with its theological depth on a personal level. Core evidence. Imagine the ancient household of Abraham. The tent is thick with tension and hope. Sarah, once barren, now carries the promised child. The scent of incense fills the air, symbolizing prayers lifted to the divine. Fertility rituals in the ancient Near East often involved offerings and special feasts, celebrating conception and birth. Archaeologists have discovered artifacts such as birth bricks, clay plaques, depicting childbirth scenes at Mesopotamian sites, illustrating the profound importance placed on fertility. Genesis's account resonates with these customs, even while asserting a miraculous dimension beyond the natural. Isaac's name itself, meaning he laughs, functions as a narrative device that recalls the dual laughter of Abraham, expressing joy mixed with disbelief, and Sarah embodying hope and incredulity. Naming in this context carried immense power, conveying identity, destiny, and divine purpose. This vivid connection between text and material culture enhances our understanding of how ancient peoples perceived and commemorated birth and promise. The physical evidence from the ancient world offers tangible confirmation of customs reflected in the biblical narrative, underscoring its cultural embeddedness. The practice of naming children to reflect birth circumstances is well documented throughout the ancient Near East. For instance, the Mesopotamian name Oshur-Nadi-Naplu means Oshur gives a son, directly linking divine intervention to lineage continuation. Isaac's name fits this pattern, but stands out by encapsulating a uniquely human emotional experience. This demonstrates Genesis's sophisticated storytelling, deeply rooted in authentic cultural norms. Moreover, the covenantal promise that Isaac would inherit the land parallels Bronze Age land grant inscriptions, where kings ceremonially granted land to loyal subjects, reinforcing both political and divine authority. Isaac's birth, therefore, transcends the personal sphere and takes on national and covenantal significance. Artistic depictions from Ugarit and Mari reveal fertility deities and rituals focused on community survival, underscoring the high stakes attached to childbirth in the ancient world. The miracle of Isaac's birth embodies these collective hopes. Finally, Sarah's transformation from laughter tinged with disbelief to one of pure joy mirrors common fertility narrative motifs in which barrenness yields to blessing, further anchoring the story in recognizable cultural patterns. It is also important to note the social function of such stories in shaping community identity. The celebration of a child born against all odds not only reaffirmed divine favor but strengthened the cohesion and faith of the people, embedding hope and resilience into their collective memory. Contextual proof. Genesis 21 presents Isaac's birth as a crucial turning point, not just for Abraham's family, but for the entire destiny of Israel. The continuation of the covenant depends entirely on Isaac's survival. His birth is a tangible sign of God's faithfulness amid what appears to be human impossibility. Consider this. Why would a later writer invent such a complex and culturally embedded story if it were not based on genuine memory? Why preserve such emotional complexity instead of crafting a simple miracle tale? Most importantly, why explicitly tie Isaac's birth to the continuation of the covenant and the inheritance of land? The answer lies in authenticity. This story is deeply rooted in the reality of the ancient world, preserved across generations precisely because it mattered profoundly to those who told it. Furthermore, The narrative's enduring relevance highlights how stories of faith and promise continue to inspire even today, reminding believers that hope can triumph where human logic fails. The historical context adds further weight to the narrative. The second millennium BC was a time of upheaval, migrations, and shifting powers where survival depended on maintaining lineage. Isaac's birth represents a beacon of hope amid instability. The story also reflects the social realities of the time. Concerns about fertility, family continuity, and divine favor shaped ancient life. While many Near Eastern fertility cults invoked various gods for children, Genesis replaces this polytheistic framework with monotheism, depicting God as acting directly. This theological innovation coexists with cultural continuity, showing the narrative's deep integration with its ancient context. Moreover, Isaac's birth narrative sets the stage for later biblical themes: sacrifice, testing, and covenant fulfillment, that trace their roots back to this foundational moment. Finally, the story's careful attention to names, promises, and divine involvement firmly anchors Isaac's birth in history rather than myth. The narrative also invites reflection on how faith traditions adapt and reinterpret foundational stories, allowing communities to preserve identity while responding to new challenges across generations. Conclusion: here is the detail we promised. The ancient naming conventions, fertility customs, and covenantal emphasis uniquely converge in the narrative of Isaac's birth. This convergence is no accident, but reflects a deep cultural memory and profound theological truth. Isaac's story stands as both miracle and history, a testament to faith confronting the impossible, recorded with precise, ancient cultural detail. This powerful combination strengthens the case for the biblical account's reliability and its enduring significance. It challenges us to see beyond skepticism and recognize the Bible as a living document that faithfully preserves the hopes, fears, and divine encounters of ancient peoples, inviting us to engage with their stories anew. To ensure full transparency, please note that this video uses AI-generated visuals to bring history to life. If you found the evidence in this deep dive compelling, remember this: the mission of faith and facts is to systematically dismantle skepticism by demonstrating that the Bible is the most archaeologically confirmed book in human history. To explore the full scope of the evidence, make sure you watch our comprehensive documentary compilation, Abraham, Journey to the Unknown Land, Archaeology, Memory, and the Birth of Biblical History, where all these proofs come together. If you want to support this work, please hit that like button, subscribe for weekly evidence updates, and share this video with one skeptic you know. Sometimes, history is the greatest miracle of all. We are committed to bringing you fresh, well-researched content that bridges faith and facts. Your engagement helps us reach more viewers who seek truth grounded in both Scripture and archaeology.